you for joining me for this edition of Weather Northeastern. This is meteorologist Mark Molnar. Let's take a look at the weather factors with this major historic winter storm, especially for the south. Snow and ice where we haven't seen in quite some time. I've never seen warnings expanded this far to the Gulf Coast the way they have been. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get right into the details, shall we? I just want to show you the NOAA weather warnings and watches map here. I have never seen this in my lifetime. The entire state of Texas and Oklahoma, winter storm warnings, the entire state of Arkansas, and almost the entire state of Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky. These are states that don't normally see winter storm warnings. This is unprecedented. This is really quite a shot of cold Arctic air to the south, and it's been going back records here. It's hard to come across a time where I've seen this kind of expansion of winter storm warnings across the deep south such as this. So let's get right into the details. Taking a look at the impact scale here, you see I have much of the south here into the extreme category because there's going to be extreme wind chills, significant ice accumulations as well. Look at that. Most of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. These are all states that could see quite that band of 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of ice, even just west of New Orleans now. This is crazy. This low pressure system is going to drag down some of the coldest air we've seen in quite some time, and it's got a lot of moisture to work with. It is going to track a bit further west up the Appalachians. You can see how it moves to just near Pittsburgh on Tuesday at 8 a.m. That is going to push some warm air aloft into Pennsylvania, New York State, and into southern New England, which is going to change with a lot more mixing going on. Could end up with a significant ice accumulation storm as well across parts of eastern Pennsylvania, the Poconos, southern Catskills, Hudson Valley, lower Hudson Valley, that is, into Connecticut, Massachusetts. But the big story is the deep south, as I've told you. Major ice storm from western West Virginia, especially eastern and central Kentucky, central Tennessee, northwestern Alabama, central Mississippi, into central Louisiana and southeastern Arkansas. And then northwest of that, we get the 7 to 12 inches of snow. So let's get right into the amounts. Here's the model runs. They've started to tighten up a bit, which is good. However, there's been a big change with the primary low and a secondary low developing on the model runs today, something we have not seen in previous days. You can see the low pressure ejecting out of the Gulf of Mexico just east of Texas, Louisiana now, pushing further to the east initially, which helps bring in that cold air to the deep south, places like Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And then it tracks it up the spine of the western part of the Appalachians all the way up through Pittsburgh and Erie, and that could have big complications to snowfall totals across Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and parts of New England. It's also going to push some of those heavier snow totals into Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan, and further west across the south as well. And then a redevelopment of the low pressure system over Delmarva or southern New Jersey and tracking up northeast along the coastline into your Tuesday. Taking a look at the snowfall map across the eastern half of the country, here it is. We have that heavy snow across most of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, especially northern Louisiana here, northwestern Mississippi, western Tennessee, all the way up to Mississippi River Valley, even eastern Missouri now, and much of Illinois, southern and central Michigan, most of the state of Indiana pretty much now, and the northern half of Ohio. Look at that. Into upstate New York. Look how the totals have eroded across much of Pennsylvania and southern New England here as we see a warm shift. As the temperatures aloft warm up, we're going to see more of sleet and freezing rain, unfortunately, and that will push the 3 to 6 line up well up into the southern tier of New York. It will be the highest accumulations, as you can see, will be across northeastern Ohio, extreme northwestern Pennsylvania, western New York, southern Ontario, Canada, up towards the Lake Ontario region, northern Adirondacks, and northern White Mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire into northern Maine. So there you have it. But look at that deep snow all the way into Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and all the way up the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys. That is crazy. I've not had to make a snowfall map quite like this in quite some time. Here's the real big story, however. It's the ice. This is the ugly side of the system. This is where we get tremendous amount of travel problems, power lines, trees, structural damage, especially across the deep south here. Look at that. Ice all the way down to Brownsville, Texas. That's unheard of. Just west of New Orleans. all the way up to Tupelo, Mississippi, Shreveport, Louisiana, much of the heavier ice across southern Arkansas, but stretching right up through central Louisiana, central Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, central Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, all the way up to West Virginia, southwestern Pennsylvania, and then stretching across Pennsylvania for the most part, especially eastern Pennsylvania. Look at that, the southern Poconos, just north of Philadelphia, parts of New Jersey now getting in on the act, and into the lower Hudson Valley, and then there's going to be another strong pocket of it over by Massachusetts and Connecticut. This is where we could see ice accumulation anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of ice. This is really bad. Those darker fuchsia colors you can see there, not looking very good here. This is going to be tremendous amount of freezing rain, and this is the part of the system I'm a bit worried about. I've also had to expand the freezing rain all the way as far north here as into the southern tier of New York, much of central New England as well, and look at that, all the way down into the deep south there. This is not good. Any mesoscale features out of the system will primarily be during the early morning hours of Tuesday. You can see across the north country of upstate New York, through the Thruway region and the lakes and Ontario portion there, and into the Adirondacks, upper White Mountains there. This is where we'll see the banding of the snowfall, really accelerating those snowfall rates into the 1 to 2 inch category per hour. And then the real zone I'm really concerned about for convective activity that could produce heavy freezing rain is eastern Pennsylvania here, the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area, Allentown, up to portions just to the northwest of New York City here in Newark, New Jersey, over towards Hartford, Connecticut, Worcester, Massachusetts. These are the areas, even Poughkeepsie, New York, we could see some significant icing on the order of 1/4 to 1/2 an inch of ice, with isolated totals approaching 3/4 of an inch, which is very bad. Here's the snowfall map. 6-inch plus category has been shifting to the northwest with each model run. You can see here across the Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, Bradford, Warren, probably in excess of 8 to 12 inches plus. Erie, Pennsylvania, 12 to 18 inches plus. Buffalo, that's where we'll see lion's share of the snow, up towards 15 to 20 inches. Even into northern Adirondacks here, lots of heavy snow. But the area that I'm most concerned about here, you see this tight gradient of snowfall. It's due to all of the warm air as this initial low pressure moves up into western Pennsylvania on Tuesday morning. It's going to bring in warm air aloft, and you see those snow totals across eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, central and northern New Jersey into New England. They're eroded for a reason. You're going to see a lot of ice, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of ice. I'll show you in the next frame. And then a sleet storm pretty much from Binghamton, just south of Albany, over towards Williamsport State College. These areas, even Scranton, Pennsylvania, initially will start to see a sleet storm out of this a lot. At least a couple inches, 2 to 4 inches of sleet with locally higher amounts. It's crazy. Ice totals across the Northeast zoomed in here. Take a look at this. This is not a good section of the storm to be in. There's been a lot of uncertainty with this ice, but one thing's for sure, we're really bullseyeing the ice across the southern Poconos, eastern part of Pennsylvania, northern and northwestern New Jersey here, just northwest and north of New York City into Connecticut and central Massachusetts there. That's where you see the highest fuchsia colors. That's anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 an inch of ice in those darker shadings. Even the freezing rain for a time, briefly, could reach as far north as Binghamton, Cortland, New York, Albany, New York. These areas into northern Pennsylvania could see a brief period of freezing rain as well, up to 1/10 of an inch of glaze. But there you have it. This is a bad side of the system. Take a look at liquid precipitation totals across the country here. Out west, they're dealing with crazy weather as well, with snow all the way down to the Portland floor these past couple days. And then back east here, that's where the bullseye of the precipitation, you see I've shifted a lot of those heavier totals further to the west as well, as we get into some really heavy precipitation with this system of widespread accumulations of heavy snow likely. So there you have it. Taking a look at the jet stream and upper air pattern here, this is where things get real with the trough. It's almost like a negative tilted trough here along the east coast. You see that polar jet riding all the way down into the Gulf Coast regions of Texas, Louisiana, and pushing right up the Appalachians. This storm is highly amplified. It's riding on a highly amplified upper air pattern. This helps to strengthen these systems and also is going to spawn that second coastal low that develops on Tuesday. So there you have it. Lots of cold air to work with as well that this storm is feeding off of, these temperature differences. Taking a look at your Monday across the Northeast, we have a plethora of precipitation here. Look at all of anything from rain to sleet pellets, freezing rain, all the way up through snow. And there it is. You have pretty much, we start out as a mixture across southern Pennsylvania, parts of New Jersey, even rain along the coast where it will stay for the most part, most of Long Island as well. Further inland, we start to get snow developing the early to mid-morning hours across upstate New York, northern Pennsylvania, and then we turn it over to sleet, places like State College to Scranton. This is where we could start to see quite a sleet storm develop. Here's Monday night, the night that it really starts to really shape up here across the Northeast. The initial first low moving up through western Pennsylvania, pushing a warm tongue of air up there about 1 mile up in the atmosphere. And this is going to start to push freezing rain. Change over from snow to sleet to freezing rain places like Harrisburg, even as far north as Wilkes-Barre, Scranton during the early morning hours of Tuesday morning. You can see sleet. Snow transitions over to sleet, and we could see quite a bit of a sleet storm from State College, Williamsport, all the way up to Binghamton, New York, just south of Albany, through much of the Catskills as well. So the upper Susquehanna region, we're looking at a sleet storm. Here into New England, look at this. This is where the heavy ice really starts to take shape across Connecticut and parts of Massachusetts, especially central Massachusetts here. Long Island stays mostly rain for the most part. You see just southern New Jersey there as well. Taking a look at Tuesday here across the Northeast, that's when the low pressure really starts to move to the Northeast here over New Jersey, heading just slightly inland across southern and central New England, pushing that warm layer of air up 1 mile up, producing a lot of the freezing rain that's cold air at the surface, continuing to pump in from the north. You see the heaviest snow continuing across parts of northwestern Pennsylvania, western New York, southern Ontario, Adirondacks, and northern White Mountains here. Significant accumulations continuing. We'll probably see a dry slot into much of southern and central Pennsylvania by about noon hour onward. So that precipitation there, that sleet storm ongoing in State College, and the ice occurring in Harrisburg will start to shut down as temperatures start to warm up a little bit. Binghamton continuing with a sleet storm continuing. Wilkes-Barre, Scranton will be right on the edge with heavy freezing rain, but the biggest freezing rain problems will continue to be into central New England here, especially Connecticut and central Massachusetts, where we'll continue to see additional ice accumulations likely all the way back into northern New Jersey and the Poconos. And here it is Wednesday across the Northeast. What a change. It moves out. Things clear out. We do get a little bit of lake effect up by Oswego County and Syracuse there along and north of the New York State Thruway up towards the Tug Hill, and then a little bit of a lake response off Lake Erie over there near Erie and just south of Buffalo. But for the most part, we're colder, but a nice sunny day likely. Extended outlook from hometown viewers from Binghamton to Scranton's upper Susquehanna region of upstate New York into northeast Pennsylvania, all along the upper Susquehanna River Basin. Take a look at this starting Monday. About an inch of snow. Parts of Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, if you live towards closer to them, you'll see probably more sleet into Monday night. Look at this, anywhere from like 3 to as much as 5 inches of sleet, mostly, maybe snow. Towards Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, we could see up to a 1/4 inch of freezing rain, so this is really bad. And continuing into Tuesday, an additional inch or 2 of sleet, likely. So we're looking at a lot of warm air aloft with this system, as originally, it looked like we were going to see snowfall amounts over 1 foot, but now the sleet really changes that equation here as far as the snowfall. So there you have it, sleet really reducing the accumulations, but sleet is still quite a mess. And we could see some freezing rain as well, up to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain in Binghamton, and up to 1/4 to maybe as much as 1/2 an inch near the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area. So this is not looking very good. Finally, for Wednesday, we see the sun. It almost looks like something we haven't seen in quite some time, getting up towards 25. And then Thursday, we see the next storm. You guessed it, more sleet likely. As always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of Meteomark's Weather Northeastern. Don't forget to like me on Facebook at Meteomark, also Weather Northeastern and Hurricane Northeastern. Also, Twitter, it's WX Northeastern. And don't forget to visit my websites, meteomark.com, weathernortheastern.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It does help it out a lot. If you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to hit that like button if you liked it, and leave a question or comment in the comment section down below. Thanks for joining me.